You must undergo a brutal psychological exorcism to purge the implanted hallucination that your existence is a gift from your progenitors, and instead recognize the cold economic reality that you are viewed by the clan not as a sovereign individual, but as a long-term derivative asset designed to hedge against their own lack of planning. From the moment of your conception, an invisible ledger was opened in the minds of your kin, a biological mortgage where every diaper changed, every meal provided, and every school fee paid was not an act of unconditional nurturance, but a capital injection into a venture that is expected to yield a dividend in their twilight years. You are living under the weight of an unsigned contract, a unilateral agreement drafted before you could speak, which stipulates that the price of your life is the forfeiture of your surplus capital to the collective. They have weaponized the concept of gratitude to turn it into a debt instrument. When they say, "We sacrificed everything for you," they are not expressing love. They are sending you an invoice. They are calculating the return on investment, ROI, of your childhood. This is not a family unit. It is a parasitic hedge fund where you are the only performing asset and the limited partners, your relatives, are demanding a liquidation of your future to fund their stagnation. You are the victim of financial incest, a toxic enmeshment where the boundaries between your wallet and their failures are deliberately dissolved. The sovereign architect understands that a healthy lineage flows downward. Resources move from parent to child to grandchild, compounding wealth through generations, dynastic flow. The parasitic lineage flows upward. Resources move from the successful child back to the failing parent, incinerating wealth and resetting the family to zero every single generation. This is the Sisyphus protocol. You are pushing the boulder of your family's poverty up the hill, but unlike Sisyphus, you are chained to the boulder. Every time you accumulate a surplus of sovereignty, savings, liquidity, freedom, the family senses it via a pheromone of success and immediately manufactures a crisis to extract it. The car breaks down, the roof leaks, the medical bill arrives. These are not accidents. They are liquidity events designed to drain your tank so you cannot drive away. They keep you close by keeping you broke. A broke son is a loyal son. A rich son is a flight risk. The mechanism of control is the guilt engine. This is a sophisticated psychological software installed in your prefrontal cortex that converts your autonomy into shame. When you set a boundary, "No, I cannot lend you $5,000, the engine triggers a loyalty alarm. You feel a visceral physical sickness, a cortisol spike that screams you are a bad son or a traitor to the blood. This reaction is not natural. It is programmed. It is the result of decades of Pavlovian conditioning where your compliance was rewarded with affection and your independence was punished with silence or passive-aggressive sighs. You are addicted to their approval and they hold the supply hostage behind a paywall. You must realize that filial piety in its toxic form is a suicide pact. It demands that you set yourself on fire to keep them warm. It demands that you sacrifice the potency of the youth to subsidize the comfort of the old. But the math does not work. You cannot save a drowning swimmer by letting them climb on your head. You will both drown. The only way to save the lineage is to get into the lifeboat, become rich, and throw them a rope. But they don't want the rope. They want to drag you back into the water because the water feels like home. We must analyze the black hole of the collective. In a low-performing family unit, the highest achiever acts as the host for the deficiencies of the group. Your competence becomes their excuse for incompetence. Why should your brother work hard if he knows you will bail him out? Why should your parents save for retirement if they know you are their 401k? Your strength is actually weakening them. You are an enabler of their mediocrity. By providing a financial safety net, you rob them of the necessary pain that leads to growth. This is compassionate destruction. You think you are helping, but you are actually paralyzing their survival instincts. You are the resource node in a network of consumers. The kinship tax is progressive. The more you earn, the more they demand, because their needs expand to match your means. It is a tax rate of 100% on your surplus. If you make $10,000 and they need $2,000, you have $8,000. If you make $100,000, suddenly they have a business idea that needs $50,000. The target is not a specific amount. The target is all of it. They will not stop until your liquidity matches their emptiness. The psychological devastation lies in the opportunity cost of the spirit. Every dollar you send backward is a dollar you cannot send forward to your own unborn children. You are stealing from your son to pay your father. This is a violation of the chronological imperative. The future is more important than the past. The seed is more important than the husk. When you pay the kinship tax, you are engaging in dynastic cannibalism. You are eating the potential of your own empire to satisfy the hunger of the past. You must reframe this debt. You owe your parents respect. You owe them gratitude. You do not owe them your financial sovereignty. You did not ask to be born. Birth was their choice, and the responsibilities of that choice belong to them, not you. The contract is void because it was signed under duress, your infancy. You are a free agent. The moment you realize that no is a complete sentence is the moment the bank run on your life stops. You must internalize the physics of the crab bucket mentality, which is not merely a metaphor, but a precise behavioral algorithm governing the dynamics of low-status groups. When a single crab attempts to escape the bucket, the other crabs do not applaud its ambition. They physically latch onto it and drag it back down into the pile. This is not malice. It is homeostatic panic. Your family unit operates at a specific temperature of struggle. They have bonded over shared scarcity, shared complaints, and shared limitations. When you begin to succeed, when you lose the weight, make the money, and buy the freedom, you are unilaterally altering the temperature of the ecosystem. You are becoming a foreign body, threatens the stability of their shared delusion. Your ascent proves that escape is possible, which strips them of their favorite defense mechanism. The system is rigged. If the system is rigged, their failure is noble. If you succeed in the same system, their failure is a choice. Therefore, to protect their ego, they must sabotage your escape. They must pull you back down to prove that nobody can make it, thereby validating their own apathy. The sabotage is rarely a frontal assault. It is a guerrilla war of distraction. The algorithm waits for your moment of peak focus to deploy chaos. Notice the timing. Exactly when you are launching a business, closing a deal, or preparing for a major move, a family emergency manifests out of thin air. Someone gets sick, someone gets arrested, someone creates a dramatic feud over nothing. This is subconscious timing. They sense your energy pulling away, and they instinctively manufacture a crisis to recapture your attention. They are hijacking your bandwidth. They know that if they can force you to spend your mental RAM on their drama, you will not have enough processing power left to execute your escape. You are trying to build an empire, and they are handing you a fire extinguisher to put out a fire they started. The sovereign architect recognizes this crisis manufacturing as a containment strategy. You must ignore the fire, let it burn. If you turn back to save them every time they scream, you will never leave the burning building. You will face the character assassination of change. The phrase, "you've changed," is the primary weapon of the mediocre. It is uttered with the tone of an accusation, as if changing, growth, is a moral failing. They will weaponize your past against your future, as discussed in the betrayal protocol. But specifically within the family, they will weaponize humility. They will tell you, "Don't get too big for your britches," or "Remember who fed you." They are trying to induce imposter syndrome. They want you to feel ashamed of your ambition. They want you to shrink so that you fit back into the small box they have labeled son or brother. They are uncomfortable with the titan because the titan does not fit in the living room. They will mock your new habits. "Oh, you're too good to eat this fried food now? Oh, you're too busy to watch TV with us?" These are compliance tests. If you laugh and eat the poison, you pass the test. You are still one of them. If you refuse, you fail the test. You are the enemy. The sovereign fails the test on purpose. He wears their disapproval as a badge of honor. The algorithm also utilizes information asymmetry. When you share your wins with them, you are looking for celebration, but you are actually handing them targeting data. If you tell them you made $50,000 this month, you have just anchored their expectation for the next loan request. If you tell them you are buying a house, you have just invited their criticism of the neighborhood. The evil eye is real, not in a mystical sense, but in a psychological sense. Envy is a radioactive force. When you expose your dreams to people who have given up on theirs, you are exposing a fresh wound to bacteria. The infection is inevitable. You must adopt the black box protocol. You tell them nothing. You show them nothing. You let them assume you are just getting by. You act broke to keep them calm. You protect your momentum by shrouding it in silence. You cannot be sabotaged if they do not know what you are doing. You are a submarine running silent and deep. They are looking for you on the surface, but you are already gone. The ultimate manifestation of the crab bucket is the guilt trip of abandonment. When they realize they cannot stop you, they will accuse you of abandoning the clan. You think you are better than us. This is the final desperate claw trying to grab your ankle. You must look them in the eye, metaphorically, and understand that leaving is the only way to save the lineage. You are not abandoning them. You are pioneering a path to a new world. Someone has to be the first to cross the mountain. The first one always bleeds. The first one is always hated. But the grandchildren of the first one live in the castle he built, not in the bucket he escaped. You are accepting the curse of the pioneer. You will be the villain in their story so that you can be the hero in your children's story. That is the trade. It is a fair price. You must accept the terrifying and messianic responsibility of becoming Ancestor Zero, the singularity point in your genetic timeline where the trajectory of the lineage shifts from a downward spiral of survival to an upward arc of conquest. For generations, your bloodline has likely been plagued by the poverty virus, a mimetic infection characterized by scarcity thinking, risk aversion, addiction, and emotional volatility. This virus is transmitted not through DNA, but through the dinner table conversations, the behavioral modeling, and the osmotic absorption of fear that occurs in a dysfunctional home. Your mission is not to fix the infected, your parents/siblings. Your mission is to quarantine them and create a sterile lab for the next generation. You are the firewall. The buck stops with you. The trauma stops with you. The debt stops with you. You are the circuit breaker that absorbs the high voltage shock of the family's dysfunction so that it does not pass down the wire to your children. This requires you to burn the script that was handed to you at birth and write a new family constitution from scratch, inked in the sweat of your own labor. The first directive of Ancestor Zero is the sanctification of access. You must realize that access to your children is a privilege earned by competence and character, not a right granted by biology. If your parents or siblings display the symptoms of the loser mentality, complaining, victimhood, financial irresponsibility, you strictly limit their exposure to your offspring. You cannot allow the old software to be installed on the new hardware you are raising. You are protecting your children's operating system. You might feel guilt, but you must weigh that guilt against the future. Would you let a person with the flu cough into your baby's mouth? No? Then why would you let a person with a poverty mindset speak into your child's ear? You are the gatekeeper. You curate the influences. You surround your children with titans, with books, with silence, with discipline. You are terraforming their reality so that success is their native atmosphere, not an alien planet they have to strive to reach. You must institute the governance of dynasty. A dynasty is not just a rich family, it is a family with a mission. You move from being a cash-rich family, which usually goes broke in 3 generations, to being a values-rich family. You create a family trust, but not just a pot of money, an incentive trust. The money is locked behind behavior. If the grandchild wants money for a startup, the trust funds it. If the grandchild wants money for a Ferrari, the trust denies it. You use the capital to incentivize the replication of the sovereign virtue. You write a letter of wishes that outlines the philosophy of the clan. We are your last names. We do not gamble. We do not complain. We build. We protect. This document becomes the holy scripture of your line. You are creating a tribal identity so strong that even when you are dead, your voice continues to guide the allocation of resources. You are attempting to rule from the grave, not out of narcissism, but out of love for the structure you built. The economic engine of Ancestor Zero is the perpetual endowment. You are not saving for your retirement. You are saving for your great-great-grandson's freedom. You stop thinking in terms of my life and start thinking in terms of the timeline. You acquire multi-generational assets, timberland, commercial real estate, intellectual property rights, Bitcoin, assets that do not expire. You teach your children that they are stewards of the capital, not owners. They cannot sell the farm. They can only harvest the crop. This shift in perspective kills the hedonism of the present. You realize that buying a luxury watch today is stealing a library from your grandson tomorrow. You embrace strategic deprivation. You live below your means so that the dynasty can live above the law of averages. You are the root system that lives in the dark and eats dirt so that the leaves can live in the sun. It is a thankless job. There are no parades for the root, but without the root, the tree falls. Finally, you must prepare for the solitude of the patriarch. As Ancestor Zero, you have no peers in your lineage. You cannot ask your father for advice on how to manage a multi-million-dollar estate if he lived paycheck to paycheck. You are navigating uncharted waters without a map from your forebears. You must find your council of kings outside the bloodline, mentors, masterminds, books of the dead Stoics. You are an orphan of history, adopted by the future. You will be misunderstood by the people who made you, and you will be mythologized by the people you make. That is the price of the transition. You accept it. You stand at the fulcrum of history. Behind you is a long line of peasants and serfs. Ahead of you is a line of kings and queens. You are the hinge. The door swings on you. Do not squeak. Do not break. Hold the weight.